Welcome back to Devlog 2. This episode is how you optimize your images and audio. If you have an image that is like 2 megabyte uncompressed, that means that your build size will be 2 megabytes bigger at the end. Same goes for audio. So you see this audio file we have here is 16 megabytes. So if I was to build this or attach this to any audio player in Unity and create a build, my final build will have a file of 16 megabyte. That's just by default how it's set up, which is very bad. And you should never make a game without optimizing both audio and video. And again, this is from Jason Weimann from YouTube that taught me this one. It's very simply actually. Every time you make a new build, let's say we have this image here, which is the new background. This one, if you click it and go to inspector, you will have a texture type. And if you want to use it in a UI, you have to change this to Sprite 2D UI like that. And then you go down here, you don't change anything unless it has something where it's alpha maps or it has transparent background, then you can change stuff here depending on what it is. We don't want to change anything here because there's no transparent objects here. So let's go further. So you see down here, there we have these different one default. Then we have Windows, Mac, Linux, and we have Android, and we have iOS. You can see on the left here that it actually changes depending on which one to choose. So this is options for each build. It's just a quick reminder. It's important for later. So Android. So what can you actually see on the device? Like a device is this small, so it makes no sense that you have a 4K image in your game. Also, you can also compress it a lot further down than what it is right now. You see, right now it's 2048 times 1024, and I think it's around 1 megabyte right now. You can check that. Seconds. Yeah, no, so it's 2.677 megabyte. So that's a lot for an image, especially if you imagine that your game can only be around 200 megabyte and you have one image that's 2 megabyte. That's insane. And then you have this audio file which is 16 megabyte. So what should you do? So Unity actually did something really nice that I can show you. Plans here, and if you go to File, Build Settings, see down here, there's an Asset Import Override. So this one will actually allow you to automatically compress images by default when you import them, because sometimes you download an asset, and that asset has hundreds, 200, many more potentially images, and all of those images are uncompressed by default. That you have to remember that everything is uncompressed when you import it into your project. And if the content creator has put them all inside the resource folder, that means that the resource folder is always loaded by Unity in the game. So everything that's inside a resource folder is always included in the game, no matter what. So I have seen sometimes that the author has, because it's easy that you inside the resource folder, you can also, there's a path that you can use to go to the images. So you can like / resources, something like that. So it's easier for them to just put everything in resources, but it's very bad if you import a huge asset, and it will just fill up your game, and it will be increase in size. You'll be like, what's going on? And that's very bad. So here, I like to either have 256 or 512 as the maximum. So that's 512 pixel width and height. But I'm not gonna set it here because there's a difference. Sometimes it's backgrounds, which needs to be a little bit bigger, but a little tiny button doesn't actually need to be that big. And an image of an hero or a tower can be a little bigger depending on where you're going to use it. Then we have this texture compressions, which I'm not going to set here, but there is an option here, just to let you know. So let's click on the image again here. So we did select 2D UI here, and we know that it's 2.7 megabytes, wasn't it? 2.677. So we have an Android here. We want to override this one. So for Android, we want it to be 512. We want a resize algorithm to be mid-shell. And I found that the best one for me is RGBA compressed ASTC 6x6 block. This is the best compression that I've found out to use. It makes the images extremely small and you can barely see any loss in quality, like literally nothing. And then you click best and you use the build settings here and you click apply. Now my image went from 2.677 kilobyte to 64 kilobyte. That's a massive decrease. So if you see here, it doesn't correspond here, but it in the final build it will be. So that this, if I use this image anywhere, it will be 64 kilobytes that I put on top of my build. So you have to remember that. So for audio, goes the same. We will override for Android, and we will compress this in memory, and we will select the compression format that is called Vorbis. That's how I pronounce it. Blame me in the comments if you think I'm wrong. And I have tried a lot of these things here with audio, and I have heard no difference in audio from 100 to 1. So set it to 1 Vorbis and then optimize sample rate. So it is 16 megabytes now, 16.1. And if you click here now and apply, it's only 0.8 megabyte, and that's huge. Then now if you use it, it will only fill 0.8 megabytes per scene. So you also have to like keep in mind that if you want to have like an audio controller that plays audio and you don't want it to load in every scene, as far as what I've seen is that if you do create multiple scenes, it will load the asset it needs for multiple scenes. So if you have a font, it will load that font for each scene. That's bad. We don't want that. And the same goes for audio, in my experience. I could be wrong, but what I normally do is that I create this sound manager. We actually have one here. And then we have terrains, and terrains are one of those things that are just building up in size. And it took me a couple of months to figure out how to do this. Each terrain has these weird splat maps that you can't really you can't compress them. So what do? Like you can't click them in Unity at all. So I was a little lost, didn't know what to do. But luckily I found this tool called Tiny Terrain, and this tool is simply just amazing. Like I have no idea why nobody else is using this one. It's so simple to use. It like I will show you how to do it live. So I have it here. So you select your terrain. This is my main terrain. And the only thing you do here is actually you have this component. So I will say tiny terrain loader. And we will say separate threads. And then you click compress. That's it. Now it has saved 69,000 bytes. You have saved 94% on height maps, and you have saved 98.80% on alpha maps. And that's crazy because Like if you see over here, we have so many maps, right? And each map has its own. It just builds up on the build size, and if you have to build a mobile application, again, 200 megabyte max download size, or you have to use addressables to download it afterwards. Or we'll come in on that later. That's another way you can like make your build size extremely small, and then afterwards your game will progressively download the content more and more and more and more. And that's what most AAA companies do. They will look like it's documents or something like that. It's something else. It's not really the game that's big, but it's all the extra downloads that are downloading behind the scenes. You've probably seen it. So you have a game that's 200, 300 megabytes, then you download it, and then suddenly it's like 3 or 4 gigabytes because it downloaded it behind the scenes. That's a way to trick it, but we will look at that later. This is for the terrain, so this is how terrain is saved. So the last one is a compression method in build settings, which is one of the most important ones. So this one is always set to default. I would not suggest that. Just change this one to LZ4 and it will make wonders for your game. That's the last one. I think we came up, what did we save? We had a reduction for 92.5% just in audio and images, and the terrain alone is also a lot. So you can scrape around 20 megabytes off your total build. That's big, especially if you say it has to fill 200 megabytes. So try it out. I promise you it will work. I will link to the video below that we found out how to do it from also. Some credit to Jason Weimann's channel. He's basically the guy who taught us about the audio and images, but thought it wanted to let someone else know. Take care. See you at the next Devlog.